Thank you so much. My name is Helen Beatty. I'm the Executive Director of Up for Learning. We could not be more thrilled and feel honored by the time you have set aside to hear the story of 7 schools, really more than that, 3 years of an effort, I think around very much a shared agenda. The schools here today have committed deeply to being able to deepen the work in the field, to really further Act 77, flexible pathways, and proficiency-based learning, so that all students have access and to the highest quality education. So certainly a shared agenda. And their stories, I think, are compelling and will give you insight into teacher and student perspectives, community perspectives about what actually, what's been evolving in the field. So we trust that you will be informed and inspired as we were through our dry run. I do want to name that this work has very much been supported by 2 organizations central to education in Vermont. One is the Vermont School Board Association, who has been a significant funder for 2 years, as has the Agency of Education. You have been helping schools be able to take advantage of this opportunity, and we are deeply grateful for that. And I also must give tribute to the Bay and Paul Foundations, who have been a major funding source to have this become a reality. So this is our Shaping Our Future Together, Communicating School Redesign. And I am going to use the clicker that is in my left hand. And we'd like to just give you a very brief overview of the model itself so you understand where this work is coming from.
My name is Andy Grayson, and I've been helping with the communications planning and strategic planning of campaigns and message development here. And in the context of this work, strategic framing of communications is considered one leg of the stool. And in this context, what that means is that we understand that how we think and shape the conversation around education is going to shape how people think about it. So if we think about students as being vessels that we fill with information and then they go off on their lives, it's a very different kind of engagement than if we explain it as they're driving a car and teachers are their mentors and they have a map of where to go. It's a whole different level of engagement. So we've focused a lot on metaphor and how to help shape the conversation by the metaphors we use.
And in this day and age, we hear so much argument and debate. I mean, it's become my television set is hard to even have on a news channel anymore, in what should be civil discourse. And so we know that dialogue is absolutely critical and essential for all constituencies related to the community, and that everyone be heard really well and to listen really well. So even in our very first day, we introduced and agreed upon some agreements of the way we're going to work together, all of us in this room. And I thought the first 4 particularly give you the essence of dialogue. The first is to be fully present. The second is to listen for understanding while withholding judgment. The third is make it safe enough to take risks. And the fourth, let's see if I can remember the fourth. The fourth is speak your truth, knowing is only part of the truth. So it's in this context that we can genuinely listen to each other for understanding, and that helps us to change fixed mindsets.
So combined with a research-based communications strategy and dialogue for change paradigm is a foundational piece, which is the process of including youth and adults as equal partners. We have witnessed and believe and have research to support that young people are one of the greatest untapped resources, messengers, to carry schools into the next era. And this work allows them to do exactly that, to be partners in change, to fully participate in designing their own school campaigns and implementing them and really moving their schools on a path. Their voices are remarkably powerful, and partly because they're unheard. Will be sad for the day that they're not as remarkable, because it's every day, but we're not there yet. So we want to then just give you a little bit more information about the history. So, Shaping Our Future campaign, today it's really three-dimensional. Today you're going to be learning about the local campaigns. So you will hear 7 stories, short vignettes of what these schools have been doing in the field. You should also know, and we will share a teeny bit about our statewide campaign that is supporting, listening to the field, developing and designing materials to help them that are available to every school throughout Vermont. We also have a New England-wide reach. Our materials are a model for the Students at the Center, Nellie Mae-funded website. So we, in fact, have been a recognized model and are influencing New England by the presence of our materials on a highly frequented web. And together, those 3 components is a statewide campaign. So, we have been in 13 high schools over 3 years, and with a fairly large geographic reach, just discovering Twin Valley is a new school coming on next year. So, and I wanted you to know, you will hear research referred to as a step that many schools took. So that you understand what that research is about, we are trying to look at mental models of what students, teachers, and community members believe about education and learning. And if we understand those mental models, we can then design campaigns specifically to what those communities need to move towards support for this innovative legislation. The first year we did it qualitatively. The next 2 years we have survey data about mental models from 192 educators, 1,538 students, and 11 high schools. I so wish we had time to share this data with you. A synthesis is in your packet, as is the raw data. But it certainly helped these schools design individually where they are going, and I think it has very powerful implications for where we might as a state consider putting our energies so that mental models progressively move towards ones that are aligned with Act 77. When the mental models are not aligned, school change looks a lot like what's happening on the left. When they are, it looks a lot like what's happening on the right. And I think a lot of people are anticipating and hopeful about the movement toward that end. And just as an example, learning is passive, a commonly held belief that is absolutely not embodied in Act 77. And in our work, one of the mental models we're trying to shift is that learning is active. So, without further ado, we are going to turn to Hazen Union, and you will hear the stories of the 7 schools.
Okay, we're just going to take a few minutes to tell you about what Hazen has been involved in last year and also this year. We're actually a third year iteration of a CSR school. So, last year we facilitated dialogue with our school board. It was really a year to focus on Act 77 and just making sure that our community knew about Act 77, what it was, what the opportunity was, because from the data that we collected that year, we knew that that was our priority. We presented on Act 77 to students during TA, which is teacher advisory. We had a faculty meeting presentation. We had an Act 77 video that Claire and I were in that went out to a whole bunch of different stakeholders and was on a website that we made. And we also put editorials in the local paper that were coming from multiple perspectives around Act 77. So there was a parent, and there was, Claire and I wrote a student one, and there was teachers and some other stakeholders.
Thanks. So as Dylan mentioned, we really wanted to make sure that the mindsets were in place before we actually did any more work with Act 77 and getting the information out. And so our goal was to create a culture that nurtures the mindsets and creates mindsets that are able to build capacity for personalized learning plans at Act 77. And then they will allow us to close the achievement gap at Hazen.
So this is some data from the survey we took this fall, and it really kind of drove and shifted how we wanted to present this to the students. So 42% of students believe that the ability to learn is fixed at birth. So we really kind of thought that was astounding that so many people thought that. So we kind of, I guess, focused our efforts on this to try and improve that.
And this is data that was done in Chile by Carol Dweck, who was sort of the parent of growth and fixed mindset. It was on 200,000 10th grade students, which is just an immensely large population. And we felt that this data was relevant to our community for closing the achievement gap, because you can see as over time, the standardized test scores go up with growth mindset. Growth mindset is here on the top and fixed mindset is on the bottom. And so we focused on closing the achievement gap because we know that there's a high poverty population in this part of the state and in lots of parts of the state and in other places. And yeah, that's why we're focused for this year.
So yeah, we've talked about the why and why we felt that this was the most important step for our school to make, and how it was really important to us that as a part of rolling out Act 77 and all these incredible new pathways for students, we help them to understand how they can best take advantage of this and really their learning in general in school and beyond. So we've had a faculty meeting to do this because we really want it to happen on a lot of different levels. So this is something that happens with all stakeholders, and so even though students are the ones who are teaching most in-depth of this, we had a preliminary faculty meeting to sort of give them some heads up and help them so they can then integrate it into their classrooms. So the 9th graders have weekly TSA activities, and those are actually taught by students. So us up here, and then some other ones too. We go into the 9th grade TSAs, and we're going to be doing that every week for the last weeks of school. And we talk about growth mindset, and we do some activities, and we really get into it and some deeper parts of it, and neuroscience, and how they can open their minds so that they can do the best they can. The other teachers who don't teach 9th grade have a one-page resource each week, so that they can really make sure that's something that happens in TSAs and then is also mirrored in classrooms. And then we also created some infographics and posters and stickers, and you may have seen some of the posters up around the school today. So here are some of them. They look like this. So the idea is this happens every week in TA, and then the students write a blog post about it focusing on a specific prompt, and then they also see these, so this is something that should be really, really present in their minds the entire time.
Some of the other things that we made was this really quick infographic that really explains the idea that you're of growth mindset and why it's really important. That's been being handed out to students actually in next week's DSA activity, I believe. And then on the right you see discipline specific and then more general also growth mindset stickers that we're passing as part of those. Yeah. So that's the Hazen story.
Hello, we are the Communicating School Redesign team from Bellows Free Academy in Fairfax, Vermont. And our team has, going through this process, has felt like communicating some of the things that are already occurring in BFA Fairfax, some of the opportunities for students is really important, and also to our school community. I am, like I said, Dave Buckingham. I'm the Director of Guidance.
I'm Jake Hakey, a junior.
Catherine McElroy, high school counselor.
Jasmine Townsend Jr. We also have another member, it's Zach McGinnis, who couldn't make it today.
My name is Moses Dwayne, I'm a junior.
Bailey Halliday, sophomore.
And I'm Paul Chapman, student support counselor.
So I just want to say that this process has been really fun. We've really enjoyed doing it. We also want to say that it's been really student-driven, and the goal has been for, as they put it, for high school students to understand, and the adults will catch on.
This class gave us confidence to further the progress of change in our school. Over the course of the year, we've improved the youth-adult partnership, Within our own group, we have created a nice bond that within our group, when we are together at CSR meetings, we always have a blast. We're also bringing it back to our school and really trying to improve the youth-adult partnership and trying to get that relationship to a place that everybody is trusting and comfortable at. During the beginning of the year, we had focus groups to see where our levels were at, and we implemented the survey given to us by CSR to see what level our students were at and teachers. We came up with strategies to address stakeholders, students, and teachers. We came up with different ones based on whether or not they were students and teachers. We came up with better communication for personalized learning plans and PLBs within our school. While editing the video that you will see shortly, I saw how many options there really are available, and creating the video was also a fun process. We focused on making this group fun and showing students that learning is fun and these opportunities can be fun as well. Without further ado, the video.
The importance of iambic pentameter cannot be underestimated in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. As you can tell, it is 5 beats of William Shakespeare wrote many plays, some of them comedies, some of them tragedies, others were histories. Romeo and Juliet.
There's nothing back there. Go back to work.
Shakespeare was from England.
Dude, there's a guy straight out of Aladdin sitting right behind.
There's nothing back there. Do the work.
This is outlined in the beginning of Romeo and Juliet.
Are we in the woods? Who are you? What are you doing? Why do you have the stupid hat?
Hey, whoa. Don't mock the hat, okay? I'll explain everything. Just follow me.
Well, can you at least bring me back to my class, man? I can't fail that class. I need that class.
But you look bored in there, man.
Yeah, but I need the credit from that so I can graduate. I need more English credits.
You know, school doesn't have to be like that.
What do you mean?
You ever heard of Act 77?
Yeah, of course I have. Not really. Can you tell me?
Well, Act 77 was a law passed a couple years ago that completely changed your average school day.
What do you mean by that? Shorter blocks?
No, not like that. Let's take a look. Let's take a stroll down Route 77.
Okay. What's all this?
So what do you think about doing after high school?
I'm not sure yet, but I'm really into science and that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Jasmine over here was really into dancing, so she's doing a lot of drama in the school plays. She was a hands-on learner and didn't really work in the classroom, so she's taking natural resources at the tech program.
All right.
Jen always loved helping people, so she's taking a job shadow at the local hospital. And Loudon here is enrolled in the ROTC program. And Tiffany either wants to be a princess or a fashion designer.
Oh, okay.
So that's Act 77. Woo! Yeah!
So we could only show part of our video. It was a lot longer. So we just wanted to mention some of the other things that were in our video, like the extensive interviews that we did throughout the year. We interviewed many different groups of students, individual students of all ages and genders. So we're just going to talk about a few important ones.
We had one student who was doing an independent study with our a science teacher who actually got to go out and present levels on phosphate in Lake Champlain in a big science expo out in San Francisco. And so she got to present a little 2-minute presentation in front of like 5,000 people, and she got credit for it the whole time.
And then something that we thought really represented what this was about was the student was sitting in a classroom, or sitting in a hallway messing around with a guitar that he didn't know how to play, and one of his classmates came over and started showing him like different chords and how to play it because he knew how to play guitar already. And a guidance counselor walked by and told him they could do it for credit and as an independent study. So now during that block, they sit down and he's learning how to play guitar and getting credit for it instead of wandering around the halls like he was before.
Considering this is CSR, we're trying to get that word out, trying to tell people about CSR. What we found was while students have already been volunteering, they're already doing what they want, they're already motivated to do it. And while that's happening, we can give them credit. Like, for instance, we have Coffee House, which is a arts program, kind of like a big concert that our school puts on every couple months. And so students are already there, they're volunteering, they're not getting credit for it, but hopefully throughout this upcoming school year, we can find a way to implicate that into marketing for trying to advertise it, and yeah, we're trying to get all those different credits in different ways.
I also want to mention that Coffee House, as Moses was talking about, is completely student-run. So the students do all the advertising, all the marketing, they all perform, and there's no teachers involved helping with it. And then we also have Farm to School Club at our school, and so we're working on getting healthier lunches into our schools through our cafeteria. So we're planting gardens, we're building sheds, we're hoping to build an apple orchard, maybe get some chickens. The possibilities are endless for this club. And there's people from all ages of our school getting involved, getting credit for math, for building things, getting science credits for growing things, and everyone's really, really excited about it.
So I think Bailey said it really well when she said that the possibilities are endless. So I just can't thank everyone enough. I know that we have lots of thanks to give to the CSR group, to the classmates that showed up every week when we were there. And we'd just like to quickly go around the group and just kind of share what we learned through CSR. And so I would like to share that, finding those passions and then putting purpose with them, I feel like is what CSR is all about.
To further the progress of an already changing system.
My hope is that all teams can be youth adult teams.
Igniting student passion.
Student voice matters.
Importance of teaching students self-directed learning.
Turning motivation into education. Thank you guys.
So we're the CSR team from Mount Anthony Union High School in Bennington, Vermont. I'm Glenda Cresto, I'm the principal.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Windover, and I'm in my junior year. I'm Lindsay Rustino, and I'm also in my junior year.
My name is Brooke Remington, and I'm our school and work director at Mount Anthony.
So it all began back in September with class that we really want to thank you for making possible. We appreciate the funding from both the AOE and the school board, and Up for Learning. So our journey at Mount Anthony started with a move to take the pulse of the school, and we provided a survey to almost all of our students and faculty, and Charlotte is going to share the results of that survey with you, and this is what directed our work.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time collecting and analyzing the data. Move on to the next slide. And we were able to report that 608 out of the 774 students who were surveyed reported that they had little to no understanding about what Act 77 was. And 38 of the 54 faculty who were surveyed also reported that they only had some understanding about Act 77. And we also looked a little bit about what people believed about where education should be heading, and 66% of students and 68% of faculty agreed that we should be changing our teaching practices to meet the new information that we're learning about how the brain learns. So we took that information and we decided to do a fact poster campaign, because since people didn't really know what Act 77 was, we were going to tell them. So we put fact posters all around the school with survey results so they knew that their voice did matter, and also statistics about what Act 77 is about.
So then following the poster campaign, to give like a formal teaching on what Act 77 was, we went to all the 9th through 11th grade seminars in our school, which makes up about 700 students in our student body. And we talked to all of them, and we really just educated them on Act 77 and why education needs to change and how education isn't working for everybody. We also did receive some student pushback from those talks. A lot of the main concerns were whether or not PLPs and PBLs will help get into colleges, or if it will work against them. Okay, then we also conducted slogan focus groups to come up with a slogan for our campaign. So we went around to different stakeholder groups in our school. I went to a B-level English class. Charlotte went to the Student Senate, and then other adults in our group went to different level classes. And I found that in my focus group that the students were really thrilled to have their voices heard and their opinions asked, because these were students that weren't usually there when school decisions were being made. And the slogan that we ended up choosing was "Pave Your Own Path." Okay, and then we also went to our local middle school, and we talked to a 7th grade class and an 8th grade class, and we talked to them about their PLPs, because they were starting to fill them out, and about Act 77 also. And it was a really different experience communicating with the middle schoolers. I liked it a lot better actually, because they were looking forward to going into high school. They were really optimistic about it, and the middle school viewed PLPs and Act 77 as something, it was an opportunity. They were looking forward to doing it. They were excited about filling out their PLPs, whereas high schoolers really thought of it as something that they had to do and they were forced to be doing it.
So one group of folks who we wanted to make sure we touched base with was our school board. So we set up a meeting to go and give a quick presentation about the work we had been doing. So we chatted about CSR and our experience within this course, and Act 77 in general, just to give some background information if they, those folks may not have heard it, or the folks in the audience, to bring everybody up to the same level. And we also chatted about different flexible pathways that we have working already at Mount Anthony, and lo and behold, once you get everything into a group, you realize that your school is doing many great things that are a part of Act 77. So we chatted about early college, dual enrollment, blended learning, virtual learning experiences, and our school to work office. And so that's my job, is to run internship programs, work-based, place-based learning experiences for kids. And so we already service about 150 students yearly in internship opportunities, but to reach out to say, hey, this is a great opportunity, and we just need some help to make this an opportunity that every student can access.
So we also had a really great opportunity to go and visit the Compass School in Westminster, Vermont, and they've already implemented a lot of the key factors about Act 77, and so we were able to explore their different grading rubrics and their transcripts, and saw that these weren't hindering kids from getting into really amazing colleges, which was a lot of the fears that we heard from people who were pushing back. And so we're able to kind of use that knowledge to help reassure people this is something that can be done, it's something that has been done, and it's something that we want to move towards, because the kids there were really happy and they were doing things they loved.
So as our voices began to be heard in the middle school and the high school, we were invited to join our supervisory union's planning team for proficiency-based learning. And so that planning team is a combination of middle school faculty, high school faculty, community members, and students.
Okay, so then we decided to talk with all the parents, because they are important, I guess. So we first sent out all letters to all 250 freshmen in our school, and we got really pumped up to present to them, to all the freshman parents. Then we showed up to the presentation, and one parent showed up. But it got better from there. We kept holding these parent nights, and at the last one, over 100 parents showed up.
So another way that we decided to communicate Act 77 and School Redesign was to split our faculty up into different teacher learning communities. One day a month, we chose a group that we were interested in doing work on. And so I facilitated a group called Dreaming a School, and we worked on what should the PLP look like, what is relevant to students. We invited Charlotte and Lindsay to come and speak with our group about what types of questions make sense and why for students to make sure that their plan is their own. And then we also worked on reorganizing our freshman orientation, which typically is, parents and freshmen come to our auditorium and just have a quick rundown of what the, new school experience is going to be. So some of our ideas are listed here, but basically to make it, a rejuvenated start and to come into the school and be excited about what this new pathway could mean for students. So that was just one TLC. Some of the other TLCs were brain-based learning, flexible pathways. We had a data team, and there were many others that people were working on, and we'll be presenting tomorrow what our findings were to the larger faculty to move forward with.
So the slogan that we chose and the logo was "Pave Your Own Path," and that will guide the work moving forward. And I think one of my biggest learning moments of this was just the power of student voice. And when a community comes together to listen to student voices, everyone, whether you're a supporter of Act 77 or not, has to ask better questions, reconsider assumptions, and simply listen.
So what I really learned from this experience was the importance of thinking about our school not just as one body, but as like a collection of a lot of different individual minds. And so throughout our work, we really tried to reach a large cross-section of different students, because for our school to be successful, we want everyone to feel successful. And that includes people who want to go into med school, that includes people who want to be a plumber. So I think that was really important through our work, is to look at people individually.
The one thing that I learned throughout all of our work is that there are really endless possibilities and opportunities in our school and through Act 77, and all these opportunities that are made available to the students. It's up to students to access those opportunities, because they can really make their education a great thing.
Lastly, just to say that this is really tough work that's being done in schools, and so going in on a daily basis and struggling through and making sure that we were putting the right message out there was really important to the members of our team. And so we're here speaking, but we sit on a larger group of teachers and students, about 15 of us that work on this. And so every day we just came in and tried to be motivated to do the right thing. So thank you for the opportunity to do this work. It's really important, and we thank the CSR team for offering the training that we needed to make things start to move in the right direction.
So, we are the Communicating School Redesign team at South Royalton, in South Royalton. I'm Connor Lambert, I'm a sophomore.
Hi, my name is Dalton Gomez, and I teach high school chemistry and physics.
My name is Cass Bath, I'm the high school math teacher.
And I'm Cassie Wilson, and I'm a junior.
So like all the schools, we used our survey results to identify many deficits in understanding current legislation changes, but we decided to focus our work really on disseminating information about what Act 77 is and also inspiring students about its true potential.
So at South Royalton, we are really unique in having what we call a morning meeting every morning. We take advantage of our small school, and every morning grades 6 through 12 gather in the gymnasium, and teachers, faculty, and even other students will make announcements for the day or the week or the month, whatever may happen. So we, as a team, took advantage of that time that we had to show videos about the changing education and do talks about it, where we hung up pieces of paper in the hallways, and students could come around and write whatever they thought about the video on it, and that's how we got a lot of our feedback and how we measured where students stood with Act 77.
Another activity that we tried to do and space that we tried to utilize in our schools, there's been a lot of staff turnover in the recent years, and we don't have a formal advisory system yet, but we're trying to implement it again. So we took 20 minutes and forced an advisory time where we facilitated different activities and conversations in smaller groups in addition to the whole student body in the morning. And some of the activities we did, there was a statewide campaign put forth by CSR where different schools participated in an I Dream of School prompt that got put on Instagram, and we facilitated it to make sure that all students participated. But we felt like the responses that we got were sort of abstract and a little more general, and so we took it further and decided we wanted specifics and more specific ideas about what students were actually interested in learning. So we developed a prompt, I Dream of Learning, and they came up with various responses, and our hope is to connect that then to different opportunities that we already offer or that other communities we can connect with.
One of our big moments of the year was this big student congress we did at the Bethel Town Hall with the other 3 schools in our district, Rochester, Bethel, and Chelsea. And we brought probably 100, 110 students to it, and we just did a big informative thing about Act 77.
And now we're going to transition to the what we learned part of this, because that's really what we all want to hear. So I found that when communicating social change of any kind, it's really easy to get get a lot of comfort in our tradition. And so having an intentional campaign where you focus on what already works well, talking about the new design was really important. And also, so often around the decision-making table, we don't include students, but they bring a very unique perspective, and we're in business for the students. So the importance of student voice at the policy level was crucial.
What I learned specifically is that students have a very powerful voice that they want to share, but their opinion and their voice is not always asked for, which might be something that needs to be changed, because when students are brought forward and they're listened to, it's very powerful to hear what they have to say. And student-centered learning is also very important to make sure that they feel ready and prepared for the future that they want to go into, and it's not just being forced on them.
So what I learned as a teacher, part of the conversation that I've heard from my peers and my colleagues is that this transition is going to be difficult for teachers, and we question what is our role going to look like under this new system, and we are passionate about teaching, and are you taking that away from us? And so this opportunity that CSR presented us gave me the chance to see what that looks like and to put it into practice, working with youth as a mentor and as a facilitator, and to know and learn that they still need us as the adult experts in the room to help guide them and help mentor them. And it looks different, but my role is still valid, and it was really beneficial to see that. And then also the partnership between youth and adult, and how powerful that is and impactful to make the objectives and meet the objectives that we're interested in.
So what I learned through this course was that it's not just Connor and I who are interested in helping change our education, but pretty much all the students in our school that have helped us along the way. And I have more options than I think for my education. I'm not bound to just traditional school setting, which is great to know. And that change can happen if we work together. We've been working together all year, and we've come a long way since the beginning of the year when no one knew anything about Act 77, including me. And then lastly, like how we can work with other schools and view them as our teammates instead of rivalries like in sports or through academics, which was great.
So we certainly want to thank you all for taking the time to to be here today and for the funding, and thank CSR for everything that they gave us in the support in this great process. And while we haven't quite been able to get our heads in the next school year, we know that the opportunities here are truly endless. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel. Nope, that's not how I wanted to start. We're the Communicating School Redesign team from Chelsea Public School in Chelsea, Vermont. I'm Rachel Allen, and I'm the middle school and high school Spanish teacher at Chelsea.
And I'm Mindy Farnham. I'm the K-12 school counselor at Chelsea.
I'm Nicole Guerin, and I'm a 10th grader at Chelsea.
I'm Grace Kay. I'm a junior at Chelsea too. So every month our school has a half day. This year we decided to take off our academic courses and to start introducing proficiency-based learning and personalized learning plans into our school. And our first day this year was September, half day was September 11th, and overall we did not get really positive feedback.
5 days later, we went to our first CSR meeting, and we, like other schools, initiated the survey. And we found that basically everyone, the students, the faculty, and community members didn't know about Act 77 and what it means to our school. And from there, we decided that the best way for us to use our half days was to educate the students and faculty and the community members about Act 77. And we identified that the students really needed a voice and that they felt they weren't being heard in the school setting.
So from that information, our new goal was to change the negative opinions of our students that they had about Act 77, PLPs, and PBLs in our remaining 6 half days.
On the PowerPoint, you'll see that we tried a bunch of different ways to try to get the students more engaged in our half days and more engaged about Act 77. A few of the ones that really we got the most positive feedback from were the I Dream of a School Instagram project and the Student Congress, which we participated with the other high schools. But most of all, the focus groups about dress code, homework, and grading policies for next year's handbook.
We noticed that as we made changes to our half days, that we got more opinions and more voice from our students.
So at the same time, happening on the same days, Mindy and I were facilitating professional development seminars for our faculty, and we had developed a whole series of seminars based on the instructional aspect of PBL, but also talking about PLPs.
And we decided that given that we had a high turnover of faculty in our both middle school and high school coming into the 2015-16 school year, our initial focus wanted to be developing a strong PLP program for our students, and we decided to also implement that 6th through 12th grade. So all of our students receive, right from the get-go, a PLP and are led through that with a faculty advisor throughout the year.
So as we moved through our work in the year, we found that we got a lot of warm feedback from our faculty, but also a lot of cool feedback. And the feedback that we got from the adults was very similar to the feedback that we were getting from students. People were really excited about the level of student engagement with Act 77 and proficiency-based learning. They felt like it was something that we could implement at Chelsea, particularly because of our size. But then at the same time, it felt like a really daunting task, and that there would never be enough time for everybody to be 100% on board before we needed to take the next step. And then obviously there were a lot of questions. And so really, we are taking these questions to heart, and they are informing the next steps that we will be taking in the 2016-2017 school year. The most exciting thing, I think, is we're going to repurpose our early release days as a time for students to explore what they're really curious about. We also asked our school board and were approved for funding for a J-term, which will be a 2-week period at the beginning of January, where faculty and staff can offer enrichment opportunities in areas that they're experts in or have a true interest outside of their content area.
Also, next year we're hoping to use the feedback we got from students from the focus groups for the dress code, grading, and homework policies for next year's handbook.
Rachel and I have also been approved with our school board support to gather information over the summer and to develop continued professional development for our faculty, both at the middle school and high school level as well.
This has been a really steep learning curve for us this year. We kind of went into our half-day plan sort of feeling like it would be no big deal and it would be totally great and we would have the best time ever, and that turned out to not be the case hardly at all. We were just talking about how we only had 7 half-days this year, but it felt like 4,000 of them. So, but I think the most important thing that I'm taking away from this experience is definitely the importance of asking for, listening to, and then acting upon feedback. But that's both feedback that we get from adults, but even more importantly, feedback that we get from students, which is where we're finding the most leverage in our work.
What I've taken away from this course and this school year is really the need to inform and educate our students, our families, faculty, and staff about the changes in education and also the way in which that these changes can benefit everyone.
It was really eye-opening to me to see the changes in student attitudes once we started asking for their opinions and they saw that their opinions mattered.
What I took away the most from this whole year, the CSR classes, and watching my peers learn about Act 77 was that communication is critical, and that if you don't communicate, not everyone's on the same page, and there's going to be backlash and different opinions, and it's better to keep everybody on the same page.
We feel really grateful for this experience. I think that we would have had a really different school year if it wasn't for the help of the CSR team, and we're really thankful that we had the opportunity to work with everyone and with all the support from everybody. So, thanks.
Good afternoon. We are the Rochester CSR School Redesign team. I'm Dia Kimball. I'm the school counselor.
I'm Cole Mason. I'm the 5 through 12 tech ed teacher.
And I'm Olivia Shania, a sophomore student from Rochester.
So in doing our work with CSR team, we struggled to figure out which direction we wanted to go. But with the help of our survey that we took at one of our first sessions, we realized that we really needed to educate our community, both at large and our school community, on what Act 77 was all about.
So we identified some key stakeholders in our community that we thought would be good to talk to and see if they actually knew what Act 77 was, and we identified our principal, our school board president, PTO, a teacher, and a student. And due to meeting schedules and all that, we were only able to meet with our school board president and the teacher. And actually the teacher is our PLP coordinator as well, so he was able to show us a lot of different insight into Act 77 and some pathways that we were actually already doing. Our school board president thought it was a great idea, however, it wasn't even on his radar. So we went with what the teacher had to say, and we were able to see in our small school we're already doing a lot of different pathways that our students are able to handle.
So after taking our survey, we focused on areas where the teachers and the students were very on opposite ends about the issue. So I created a student forum back at the beginning of the year, and I basically just talked to our 6 through 12 student body, roughly about 50 to 55 kids, and I started with a simple question, and from there I went on to talk about chalk talks that we did at our school, and at the end of my forum I asked an exit ticket question and used the results on the index cards I collected to think about what other kinds of questions we wanted to write on our Chalk Talk and what we wanted to get out of them to further our efforts with CSR. So here was our first Chalk Talk, and as you can see, there was quite a bit written, but as the year went on, we got more and more things written on them, and we opened it up to teachers as well, and we just wanted people to write whatever they wanted on it so that we could take away from that and see what else we could let people know throughout the year about our efforts. So after that, I created a website. Links in the bottom right-hand corner. Over the past couple months, I've been working on this website in my free time, letting people know about the flexible pathways that are available at Rochester, what people are already doing. And when we did our survey, this is where we got it out to people. We're going to put the link to it on our blog at school and stuff like that. So I guess the other thing I have to say is what I got out of the experience and what I learned from it this year. And overall, I think my biggest takeaway was that schools are changing for the better, and the partnership between youth and adults is what's going to allow people to leave high school feeling ready for whatever it is that they want to do after that.
I would also like to say that Olivia was invited to our staff faculty meeting by the administrator to present her forum PowerPoint that she just showed you a little bit about, so kudos to Olivia for her hard work. What I got out of doing this course was just the knowledge that we at Rochester, unbeknownst to a lot of us, have been doing a lot of this kind of flexible pathway work for a couple of years now. Been being educated more on it and knowing that there are a lot more out there for our students and a lot of ways to access it, so thank you.
And what I learned and focused in on as well was just the different ways that students can receive credit and work towards graduation. I'm a very hands-on person. A lot of my students are very hands-on people. So the fact that they're able to go out in the community and work with their hands or do things that drive their passion and help that achieve graduation status was something that was really rewarding to me. Thank you.
So we are Wickham High School. I am Amber Bowen, Assistant Principal.
I am Krista Townsend, I'm a sophomore.
And I'm Andy West, I teach middle school math, and I facilitate the community-based learning initiatives of our students. So, one of the first things that we did kind of towards the end of last year is we developed a schedule that provided some flexibility because we felt that was really important to carry out some of the initiatives of the Communicating School Redesign course that we were going to soon be taking part in. So our schedule was that every Wednesday afternoon we didn't have structured classes, and some of the ways that we used that time, we connected with the community. This is a group of students who planted trees along the White River, which was an area that was devastated by Tropical Storm Irene 5 years ago. So that's an area that still needed help, and we were able to plant those trees to restore the riverbank. We also used that time to tap into what students were very interested in. We took a group of students to Middlebury College who were very interested in athletic training and facilities management, and met with people at the college to help kind of foster that interest that those students had. We also used that time to allow students to conduct their own workshops to teach other students. We had a wonderful workshop where a student who was very interested in trapping presented how you do that, not with actual trapping of animals, but just how you set the traps, how the traps work, and there were a number of students who participated in that experience, and that was valuable. We also used those Wednesday afternoons to, that time to really have our CSR initiatives happen. Because it wasn't we didn't have to change our schedule because it was already a time we had allocated for things like that.
that I think. Okay, these are some of the things we did.
It doesn't look right, but that's okay.
Yeah, some things are missing.
Oh, no.
These are some of the things we did throughout the year. And we really want to thank CSR because without them, we wouldn't know how to do all these things. So some of the things we did was community school redesign survey with our students and teachers. Act 77 text rendering activity with students. I dream of a school. Students, teachers, and staff. What do you want to learn about? Questionnaire, students, and our student congress with all the other schools, a couple different schools, and our school board presentation of flexible pathways in the community.
So just to follow up on what Krista said, is that we didn't have these tools, and we wanted to engage students in student voice, but we didn't know how to do it, and we found that just the I Dream of a School activity and getting all the kids together and asking them, they were so jazzed, and I felt like we just had a good buzz about our school, about wanting to be engaged because they were being listened to.
So in the past 8 years or so, our guidance counselor has collected and saved data about what students have participated in flexible pathways. And these are the areas that seem to be the really heavy hitters for where students, if they were participating in a flexible pathway, what that pathway was. They went to the Tech Center, which is in the middle, the Randolph Technical Career Center. They went to VAST, which is the Vermont Academy of Science and Technology. And then more recently, the past 2 or 3 years, they have taken online courses through Vermont Virtual Learning Collaborative. But that changed a lot, and we'd like to think that it changed a lot as a result of what we did with communicating school redesign. So to kind of lead into that, one of the things that happened this spring was 7 days asked to interview some of our students. They had heard about the Student Congress and had come down to interview some of our students about flexible pathways and about opportunities. And when the article came out, this was the headline that we saw. State struggles to offer big opportunities at small schools. And lo and behold, we thought we were offering big opportunities to our students, but apparently 7 days didn't quite think the same way. So we weren't overly pleased with the headline, but we understood where it was coming from. The reality is, big schools can't act like small schools, and small schools can't really act like big schools. You have to do it differently. You have to do it differently.
It was a good lesson in media.
Yeah. So, go on to the next one. So, one of the things that we took advantage of in our small school is that students really were interested in accessing a lot of what we consider big opportunities. So Chris is going to talk a little bit about her opportunity.
So this year I am doing my regular classes at school, but I am also doing an internship with our athletic director. I just want to do this, I mean, I love athletics. I play 3 sports, but this past spring, like last year, I tore my ACL, so I haven't been able to play any of my sports. So I really wanted to get back into it, and this was one of the ways with my athletic director.
So you can also see other opportunities, go back to the last one, other opportunities that students are accessing going into next school year. They've already made plans to continue taking online courses, but we do have some students who are going to access advanced placement courses through a partnership we've created with South Royalton. Community-based internships. I'm already working with students such as Krista who are actively trying to set those up. We have a student who is going to be entering the plumbing apprenticeship program and working with a local plumbing contractor. And we have students accessing early college opportunities at Norwich, Linden, VTC, Johnson State. Several of those students will actually be living on the college campus because of the travel distance from Bethel. And we also have a great opportunity to access a course at GW Plastics, which is a local manufacturing firm right next door to our school. And it's kind of a pre-engineering type of course for students who may be interested in pursuing engineering careers after high school.
So next steps, it's to continue this great work is the summary of it. We want to keep working with CSR to keep developing the student voice and not drop any of these balls that we started.
Continue collaborating with White River Valley SU schools to plan next student.
We want to keep continuing to educate students about the flexible pathways so that they see their potential and that even if there's an interest and we don't offer it, that they can still access it one way or another.
And to continue to provide students with the opportunity to pursue their passions and interests.
Thank you. Hello again. Excuse me. I'm up here to talk briefly about a shared effort between the last 4 schools you just heard from. So from Chelsea, Rochester, South Royalton, and Whitcomb. We are all a part of the new White River Valley Supervisory Union. And so we had an interesting thing happen this year, which has already been mentioned, and that's this Student Congress. We've heard a lot about Act 77, and now I'm going to finally say it. Act 46 was really the origins of this, where we were coming together as a new supervisory union. And with Act 46 coming down the line, there's probably more discussion in our schools than perhaps anywhere else in the state about what the future really holds. And that left a lot of unknowns. So we gathered a group of students, almost 100, to talk about Act 46 in the fall. But CSR was able to slip in and get an hour of time that we planned literally the day before. I'm not making this up. The day before at a CSR class to talk about Act 77. And that was one of the shining moments of that day for the students, I think. So we decided to do this again in the spring, but make it all about Act 77. And to leave some of the policy and the money behind that students didn't quite want to talk about.
Hi, and I'm Marissa. I'm with the Bay and Paul Foundations, and I'm very privileged and very grateful to support the work that you've seen represented today, and have worked for a long time with Daniel Barron on one of the legs of the stool, the Dialogue for Change, and was invited in to help support this Student Congress planning. We walked into one of the CSR design days literally knowing that these schools had an entire day to do with what they will, and no plan beyond that. So we spent a couple of hours during that design day thinking about what we would hope to accomplish at the Student Congress and to design a day-long training for the students who would be facilitating that time. The amazing folks from the schools represented went back to their schools and based on that shoestring of an idea, recruited some facilitators who took the leap and joined us for a day-long training at Bethel Town Hall to really not only to heighten their facilitation skills, but really to shape what that day would look like from the ground up. It was completely youth and adult, and I would say more youth, designed and facilitated and run. It was really quite impressive. I told them a minute is not long enough for me to talk about what an amazing experience it was. And we went into the day of the Student Congress pretty quickly after that. There wasn't a whole lot of lead time. And that morning I was spoken, a woman from the local paper talked to me and she said, well, what can I expect to see from this day? And I said, well, I can tell you what you won't see, and that's a lot of adults talking. And I would say over the course of the entire Student Congress day, there was about 3 minutes where adults were talking, and maybe a minute and a half of that was telling them that lunch was coming. So it was very student-focused, student-run, and a great success. And we've got a little video to show you a little bit about that day. And this is the 4-minute version, and there's a longer version as well.
Student Congress was just this great opportunity to see students learning and seeing how they wanted to learn, how they wanted to take part in their learning. And it was like lifting a fog from the eyes of students in our district.
And it's all student-led, which was really great, and it's very positive.
I opened up more into the conversation of Act 77 and bringing it to the schools in the districts around our area.
On Monday, April 4th, middle and high school students from Chelsea, South Royalton, Whitcomb, and Rochester gathered to discuss changes in education, such as Act 77, personalized learning plans, and flexible pathways. The event was designed by the members of the Communicating School Redesign Vermont initiative and completely facilitated by high school students.
To start today, we're going to do like an introduction exercise with everybody. So first, try to make a big single file circle around the room, which might be hard to explain. If you were to write an autobiography about yourself today, what would be the title of it and why? And don't forget to mention your name and what school you're from.
I'm Ryan. I go to South Burlington. My autobiography would probably be titled Food, a Love Story.
My name is Brianna. I am from Rochester, and my autobiography would be No One's Going to Read This Autobiography.
I'm Brendan Stryker from South Royalton, and my autobiography for the day is Make School Great Again.
We're open to everyone's ideas and opinions. Yeah, there's really not to be. So the first one is we have a present. I want you guys to tell me what you think that might be. And you're going to choose one sentence, one phrase, which is an incomplete sentence, and one word that best captures the meaning of this page. We pulled out the words engaging, options, individual, purpose, co-creating, and community.
Options: rigorous, engaging, customized, Vermont, high quality, relevant choice, future choice, and opportunities choice.
We believe that students should have the ability to be able to integrate with the educators on how they go about learning things, whether that's getting credit for going out and taking an internship or anything along those lines. They should be able to get credit and they should be able to curate this and make it personalized to them.
We learn in different ways, and we should have teachers be able to teach us material in the ways that can help us, as well as letting people who do think in a standardized way to be taught in a standardized way.
People think in different kind of ways, man. I mean, some people just have creative minds. Some just have analytical minds. You can't force someone to go into a certain system when they just don't work with that kind of system.
Mentioning the social aspect of school, just because someone is not social does not mean that they are not intelligent, and they may not fit in with different social groups, but they may strive in academics and different subjects.
I'd like to mention that it was co-created by students and adults, but the day of the event, it was completely student-led. I don't think any adult really talked more than 3 words, I would say. And so that was really nice to bring everything that we have tried to accomplish throughout the whole year into this student congress, especially with all the students there who are willing to learn about it. And I believe that was very effective and engaging way to distribute the information. The students, it was a lot of information that we gave them, but none of them complained that it was too much or that they couldn't handle it, which was great. And it was very collaborative between the high schools. We were rivals in sports and academics, like I said earlier, but that day we all came together to make this happen. Longer video. It's about 12 minutes that captures more activities that we did and more in depth about like how the day went. If you're interested in that, it's on the website that's somewhere.
To finish up, a couple tools that have been created on the state level that are in your packets. They talked about a text-based discussion. Often that was about an overview of Act 77 that you'll see in a 2-pager. There is an overview of our first attempt to help explain proficiency-based learning using metaphor. All of these vetted by major numbers of students. We developed for a parent night a personalized learning plan overview that was used at a number of the schools. We are working on an animation that will explain proficiencies, a PLP video, but most importantly, we want to close with what is perhaps one of the most exciting tools that has been coming down the pipe. We feel like this, to really gain connection to Act 77 and PLPs and proficiencies, we have to have message with heart. We have to find what is at the core of learning and education that across all stakeholder groups matters. What we decided to do was rally 8 schools and 15 students to create an original song for Vermont around educational change. They spent 2 days writing lyrics, setting the music, 2 days down at a sound studio recording it, and over the next 2 weeks, about 10 schools are all taking it on, including Linden, who's putting it to dance. And there will be a collage of schools singing and dancing this song. In your packet, I would just direct you to a green sheet that these are the lyrics. There will be both a video of the song and in this collage style, as well as one that links it and unpacks it as it relates to what's going on in Vermont. So we invite you to just sink in for the trailer, a shortened version of the song, as it, I think, does so effectively capture the universals of school change and what across generations we aspire to. So here you go. So stay tuned next fall for that hitting the schools across the state. There was a card with our website, so Encourage Shaping Our Future is a resource for all schools in the state. All the work that you've seen is captured on that website as prototypes. So thank you so much for the time, for your support, and cannot adequately express our gratitude. Thank you.